he running, Dad?
Because we have to chase him.
Okay, we're going in. Go, go, move.
He didn't do anything wrong.
Because he's the hero Gotham deserves. But not the one it needs right now. So we'll hunt him. Because he can take it. Because he's not our hero. He's a silent guardian. A watchful protector. A dark knight.
Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
I'm vengeance.
I have given a name to my pain. The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham. I'm Batman.
Welcome to the Batman on Film Social Hour. I am the host, BOF senior contributor, and joining me, he gave me the keys to this Batmobile, is founder, editor-in-chief, the gumbo guru himself, Bill Jett Ramey. Bill, hello, how are you? Welcome to your show.
I'm glad to be here at my show.
Yeah, I figured as much.
It's always good. It's always good to come on my own show.
Yeah.
Appreciate the invite. I could have invited myself, and that gets into all sort of like different realities, right? Because it's all connected and stuff like that. So I don't want to get into all the metaphysical stuff that involves time travel and alternate realities and whatnot. But yeah, I'm here.
Well, I'm appreciative that you handed the keys over on this one, because this kind of came up, I think you and I talking about it on the last social hour a couple of weeks ago, and then kind of double checking in just a couple of days ago, and I'd asked of like, hey, are you still open to doing an episode on the Dark Knight 15 years later? And you were like, yes. And you were like, and you host. And I said, well, thank heavens, because I don't get to talk, surprisingly, this movie is 15 years old. I don't get to talk the Dark Knight on like a podcast, like in depth, or more than just like a comment, very often at all. And the Dark Knight's not only my favorite Batman movie, it's my favorite movie of all time. So this is I'm glad that I get to take the reins, so you can sit back and I'm just going to gush about it for an hour, and then you can just
I'll just sit here and go.
You can plug at the end.
I just go,
yeah. I don't think there's going to be any negative comments here, so I think you can probably just agree with it all.
Yeah. I'll just practice. Yeah. Absolutely.
Cheers. There you go. Cheers. We talked. The BOF Chronicles. It was part 3 of that series that I did with you. We did talk about the Dark Knight. It was more so, me asking you questions, but that was more so covering like the build up to the movie, the movie's released, and then the outcome like after the release and stuff. And I said to you, like, I think our discussion here we can avoid like retreading the talking points, and we can talk more specifically about like the movie itself, the story itself, the characters, and then basically like how this pushes the Batman character, how it hits on point with the Batman character, other characters in the movie and the story and stuff like that. And I said, I think that we can keep our focus there, and that'll make this a fresh and different discussion than what we've had in the past.
Yeah,
okay.
That episode, that episode was more The Dark Knight through the lens of Batman on Film.
That's right. Yep.
Right. This is the Dark Knight discussion through the lens of us as fans.
Mm-hmm. And
I would say.
Batman experts and
Yes.
experts in training.
Yes. I fancy myself. I don't know if I've ever told you. I fancy myself a amateur Batman historian.
Oh, okay.
And
You're
so,
building
yes,
a museum, so I mean, I'd say that you're well beyond.
the Dark Knight is. If you didn't know this, the Dark Knight
Mhm.
is a very important part of Batman history.
I would agree. And that's a reason I think that like we can talk about too of like different ways that it is important in Batman history. And first I'll say, and maybe it'll probably be in the post on Batman on Film for this when it's posted, but to track down that BOF Chronicles Part 3.
Yes, I will add
discussion.
That. Absolutely add it to
because I think I told you on that it was a lot of fun talking to you and reminiscing about it. So I'm sure it's always fun for you to reminisce about it because you talking about, your experiences on it. But then for me too, I remember following along, reading all the updates and everything throughout. So then to hear those, like, I don't know, that's fun to hear those from you again and go through it, because the Dark Knight ride itself was, as a fan perspective that didn't get to, join in on any of this stuff. Can you say it's nostalgic if it's 15 years?
Yes.
That's crossed the nostalgia barrier now. Yeah. I mean, and it kind of is. It was, a totally different chapter in my life. Following it was exciting. And then it's like, and then the payoff was when I walked out of it thinking like, hot damn, I think this is like my favorite movie. And like to have that kind of feeling immediately after you see something is also very, I don't know. I don't know the adjective, but it's cool. It's good. And it's my favorite character. So
it was the first Batman movie that just completely wowed me to the point at the end of the film. I was so wowed that I was absolutely speechless.
Yeah.
And it is the most fun I've ever had in this 25 years of Batman on film. Did I ever tell you that I started Batman on film on the Web TV in 1998? Ever tell you that
Web
story?
TV.
1998
on the Web TV.
20, 23, 25 years. Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Yes. It was the most fun I ever had covering a Batman film. Period.
I believe it.
Most fun. And yeah, it's nostalgia. It has a special place in my Batman heart. Now I love it. It's excellent. It's probably the best film. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to Batman movies, it's the best film.
I know where you're going.
I'll say it. I've said it before. I love the Batman. The Batman is probably became my favorite, only because it just hit more of my personal Batman sensibilities. A lot more than the other. Well, not a lot more, but more than the others. But it doesn't take away from how much I love the Dark Knight trilogy and the Dark Knight, which we're going to talk about starting now. So I'll stop rambling.
So no, it's all good. Because you kind of teed me up for something. How you said the Dark Knight left you say speechless, knocked you on your ass, and you said, I think in your Dark Knight review, and then you've said multiple times on BOF since, that the end of Batman Begins had you looking at your friends and high-fiving. The end of The Dark Knight had you just completely speechless.
Yes.
So I'm reading this book, and I highly recommend it. It's called The Nolan Variations, the movies, mysteries, and marvels of Christopher Nolan. And I had to jump up to the Dark Knight chapter. And I want to share this excerpt that he'd said. I've never heard him say this before. This is the first time I've ever come across it. And Nolan tells the author, so these are words straight out of Nolan's mouth. He says, it's funny because while it's difficult for me to analyze people's responses, The Dark Knight is always people's favorite. I frequently find myself defending the other two. There's a romanticism to Batman Begins that we totally threw out for The Dark Knight. When I screened both films down at IMAX headquarters before we got into the design of The Dark Knight Rises, we hadn't seen either film in a few years. It was a very interesting experience because Batman Begins played much better than we remembered it. there was a sort of nostalgia, a classicism to it. It was like, wow, we did so much in that film. Then we screened The Dark Knight, and the word we both used is it's a machine. It just grabs you and runs you through, but there's something almost inhuman about it. Compared to Batman Begins, The Dark Knight is a cruel, cold film. People talk about my films as being cold, and that's really the only one where I see that, because the Joker is such an engine driving that film in such awful ways. That's all the film is, a relentless series of horrible situations contrived by the Joker, and that was always the intent. There was nothing accidental about that. I pitched it in the studio as it's a white knuckle ride. It's justice descent. And
Yeah.
I think, like, in reading that, it just instantly thought of that comment that you said about it. And in watching The Dark Knight, I know every time that I watch it, I rewatched it for this movie, it kind of surprises me in such like different ways. The movie is, I don't think it's slow and get going, but there's almost like a certain point that then it just feels like you're surprised at the runtime when I almost feel like the centerpiece of it, of, you know, the chase for Harvey Dent. Almost feel like that's where the movie gets cranked up to an 11 and it just doesn't stop. And the next hour and 10 minutes is just like, and it's over. And it is a massive, like, holy hell, like the rest of that movie is, and it earns it too. It takes its time setting up, and then you strap in and the coaster just goes downhill and like the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And I think his comments on between the two movies, because there's a lot of people I know that do say The Dark Knight's the better film, but Batman Begins is a better Batman movie. That's almost like a bugaboo of mine. I'm not one that jumps in on board with that a little bit, because I feel like, well, The Dark Knight's there's so much in The Dark Knight that it is a Batman movie to me.
Oh, it is a Batman movie.
And I mean more to it. I know you know what I mean. There's more to it than just like, well, just Batman's in it. It's like, no, there's a lot of specific things with Batman mythos, Batman supporting characters that this movie does, I think, nail wonderfully.
I get where one can be irritated by that, where you say it's a better film, and I get that part of it. I think it's a compliment that goes along with this. I think The Dark Knight was the movie, maybe the first and only movie of this genre. Well, maybe not. Not the only one anymore, but the first for sure, that where you could say that was a great film. And it wasn't, that was a great superhero film. That was a great comic book film. That was a great Batman film. It was a great film. So that's kind of where I come into that part. Batman Begins is, I mean, that's, I did write that. I remember it's like you end up, it's kind of almost a feel good ending.
Yeah.
The whole, and you're optimistic, and this whole Batman world is being established in the future, of, I'll look into it. You'll never have to, and all that, jump off the thing. Batman Begins. With The Dark Knight, it's not a happy ending, like at all, Joker kind of won. Batman takes on the blame for Harvey's fall and what he did, with him killing people. And, Batman runs off limping, jumping on the Bat Pod with the police, chasing him. And you combine that one with Gordon's monologue, it's just like, I just sat there and went, oh my God, that's unbelievable, having experienced that since with a Batman film. Or maybe, hell, I don't know if I've experienced with any film since, but it's great. It's a great film. It's a great movie. Yeah.
Now, caveat, because I know there's fellow team BOFers that I know have said what I just kind of said is my bugaboo. And that perspective, though, too, it's like I totally understand where somebody's coming from and what they're saying. Just my thoughts is like, no, this is, to me, this is a Batman film.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Batman film. But what you just said of, and I think that's why it almost is a little bit of like a gut punch, because the hero, like, he kind of loses. There's some short victories, but it's almost like he loses. And at the end of the movie, like the perception is supposed to be that he's a bad guy. The hero is a bad guy, even though in disguise he's really the hero. A Dark Knight. Oh my gosh, it makes so much sense now. I had my breakthrough. And I don't think a superhero, like a movie in the genre, can do that now, because it would just be like, oh, you're trying to do the Dark Knight. You know, and I think that's how it can stand on its own. And I mean, at the time, I just kind of feel like it was something completely fresh for the genre. It took itself very seriously.
Yes.
It did, and there are like many moments of it that I don't feel it is some kind of big superhero popcorn flick necessarily. You know, sure, there's that centerpiece of the chase to get Harvey Dent, that and then every time getting into that part of the movie, that is definitely for me, like, sit up a little more straight and my ears perk up a little bit more, because I know, like, oh, this scene is fantastic. And then it's followed by a scene that is just of two characters talking, which I would argue is my favorite Batman scene on film. And it carries just dialogue. It carries like so much weight, I think, to it, on almost like it's a character study scene. You can pick this seeming of, oh, this is the Batman Joker relationship since 1940. Like right here, they're kind of doing it, but it's also like playing to the film itself. And I'm like, that just feels so different from the genre itself, of how a lot of these meetings in villain and hero is the villain. What Watchmen even says at the end of, like, what, I'm not some comic book villain. I'm not just out here just telling you what my master plan is. You know, like, no, there's just something so much more to it. And then it's like, and then at the end, the big finale of this movie is a 3-character discussion. Like, that's the big finale. There isn't invasion from the sky. No. Like, the city, the world's going to blow up or anything. It is a small, intimate scene that carries so much weight. And that's just like a really quick boom, boom, boom to me of like, this is why this movie is just some of the reasons why this movie stands out so much, like just in the genre itself, even amongst other Batman movies. That it just did something that was so much different and did it well, and carry, like, it's just really, really like heavy in a sense too. It changed the genre forever. It did. It changed the genre. There would be no The Batman without The Dark Knight. And you could probably say that for other comic book / superhero films that aren't DC or aren't Batman, that did things a little more serious. And it always bugs me, like when you have people review, it comes a lot with Batman films, but I've seen it in other ones, but it's like, oh, it takes itself too seriously. Like, it's so dismissive of the genre. You know, this is just superhero stuff. You know, there's still that little bit of element in there, but you did not hardly hear that with The Dark Knight. Yeah. You know? Because you would look like an asshole
because the movie was so
pretty
good.
much.
I mean, that was, you couldn't get away with that kind of trolling bullshit. I don't think with this film.
Mm-mm. And it hits like, would you call it a 4-quadrant? Because I was trying to think of like, wait, what are the 4 quadrants? And I think it's like men, women, young, old. I think that's the definition of like the 4-quadrant. And I'm like, I think this movie is definitely it. Ages, like the spectrum is all over the place. A particular male or female, like no, it's like, it kind of feels like it is everybody. And that's such a rarity for a movie. And then you can double down and even be like, well, even for like of the superhero genre, and this like it changed so much for that reason. And then like more now for us, even of it's such a crown piece of the genre and for Batman itself. And I think because, so as we just said, of like the hero is Batman, and at the end it's the perception is that basically everybody's supposed to see him as the villain, but it's like you watch the movie and it's evolves from the established world from the movie before, which didn't light up the world. I think it was well reviewed, it was solid, like, oh, this is good. And then somehow it just jumped a couple, I don't know, the hype machine jumped up a few notches for The Dark Knight, and it wasn't a rehash of what we had already seen. It was, okay, let's take that now, put him in a new case where, and this is where I think sometimes that statement can be said of Batman Begins the better Batman movie, because there's too much focus on other characters. But I think in The Dark Knight, but I think that's almost a necessity for a sequel, because you're putting this hero who's established himself and is like, this is my mission, this is what I'm doing. But now there are going to be other barriers. One is trying to find this ally in Harvey Dent who can do what you're doing, but do it the quote unquote the right way. And then therefore it's like, then Batman won't be needed anymore. And we're establishing like good for Gotham, and he's our hero. And then you have this thing coming in to just F up everything for the sake of effing up everything.
It effed up Bruce's plan that he clearly stated in Batman Begins.
That's right. Yep.
When Alfred asked him, for how long, he said basically however long it takes for me to clean up Gotham. And then in The Dark Knight, he sees it happening. He sees a White Knight in Harvey Dent who can be Batman without a mask in the light and doing things, like you said, the right way. And the Joker just F's up that plan completely. It always gets me with Rises, not to jump into Rises, but like
it's all connected. In this case, these are all connected. So it's
literally, it's like Michael Uslan says, it's one story told in 3 acts. Like Batman would never quit. That is such a lazy, tired argument. It's not looking at what this story, which is really about Bruce Wayne, is all about. He planned, Batman was always going to be finite. And he was and you see in The Dark Knight, he is happy that it's coming to an end. Talking to Rachel Dawes, it's happening, so it's just, I almost at a loss for words, but it's there's not much, how do you want to say, I want to say that there's not much, like, none of these 3 films are your typical sequel. They're different. They're different type of films. They're different, but and not joking this time, but they are all connected one story. So And it this going back to the lead up, closest thing to Batman 89, Batmania that we've had since then. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how much, like you talked about, from begins to how the hype level, the anticipation level jumped. I think the certainly amongst the fans, the viral marketing campaign, which was beyond awesome.
Brilliant.
Yes. Played a role in it.
Mm-hmm.
But there were just, other things. It was just, sometimes you can't manufacture.
No, if you can manufacture, everybody be doing it.
Yeah. You can't. Exactly.
So while I think like the addition of those two characters definitely it brings new challenges, it brings a new story, it brings new conflicts. It brings more opportunities for, I think, the character of Batman in this movie and Bruce Wayne to express heroism. Because I think that's present everywhere, and there's a doubling down of like the no kill rule, and doing what he needs what he needs to do, and as well as the character himself getting pushed maybe more than in Any Moment Begins and Any Moment in Rises, in that interrogation scene with Joker, getting as close as and being confronted with basically by the, it's just one quick line as Joker's, getting punched, and he's laughing and he's like, you have nothing to threaten me with, nothing to do with all your strength. And that's such a, like, it still hits, my 200th time watching it before we recorded, of thinking about that and how that's displayed so well, of like, you're here to scare criminals. That's why you put on this persona of a bat, and you're big and you're strong and you beat them. Now you've got a guy that is not scared, and your punching doesn't do anything. So you're at the midpoint of this movie, and this character has to do a whole like reflection on himself, like, well, then what do I do? Because this has gotten me so far, but now this doesn't work on this guy.
He's helpless.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and it's almost, he realizes just his Christian Bale's reaction after he says that, you have nothing to scare me. You have nothing to frighten me. You have nothing to hold over me. Nothing. You can beat the shit out of me. It doesn't matter. In fact, I like it. So keep on. Yeah.
And on top of that, you complete me.
Yeah. It's just like the more Batman hits him, it's kind of like, that's the joke. That's what the Joker is winning. Yeah. Because he's losing control. He has no control. He has no control of the situation whatsoever.
And tell me that's not,
and he doesn't know what to do.
That's not a reflection of that relationship over the years in the comics. And that is since even The Dark Knight, like, they try to make sure to capitalize on that with the Joker Batman dynamic of Joker's Batman's biggest fan. It humors him. And then it's like he's almost in a lose-lose, because if Batman crosses the line, Joker wins. If Batman finds a way to outsmart him, that thrills the Joker too. Because it's almost as if, like, you son of a bitch, I took it away from you and you still found a way to win.
Yeah.
Even though this movie, like, because even in this movie, he's set up with the fairy situation. One of them's going to blow the other one up. That doesn't happen. So he's like, I got to do everything yourself. And he's about ready to. And Batman stops him, and he goes flying over, falling to his death, quote unquote, and he's laughing. There's just no way to make him feel like he loses. A brief moment when the clock passes midnight and neither fairy's blowing up, and you can see on Ledger's face as he's performing a little disappointment, but then that's quickly gone. but and then his backup plan, Batman stops that, and he's still laughing. So it is just like, I mean, as we said 10, 20 minutes ago, of the Joker basically wins in the movie.
He does. He
And
does.
so, and it's interesting of like, well, then how does Batman win too? And by, I don't know, still helping the city. Like,
yeah,
it's interesting because it is like, no, but Batman did win, but then he also kind of lost. But in no way was it at the expense of the character.
it was everything. It was very much Batman to say, I did it. I killed those people. You know, and Gordon saying, no, you me to be. Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, a typical superhero movie, it almost would be Batman. He saves the SWAT team members, and you know, he defeats the Joker. Doesn't let the Joker die either. He grapples him and holds him, and that would be, you know, everything would be Batman won, save the day.
Yeah,
the end. But you know, the Joker had his ace in the hole. Harvey. And then you had that hole, which is really the true finale of the film, which no action, just psychological torture. Is that the best way to put that? Yeah.
And I was never trying to think too much into it. The score throughout the whole movie is fantastic. But there's always the track at the end there during that scene of I guess the Gordons and Harvey and Batman, and there's a change in music on that track of like, it almost goes like, it brings in an extra string of like a violin or something, maybe, as when Harvey does the flipping of the coin, and it Batman's first, and it's scarred side up, and it's just like immediately shoots Batman, and the change in the score and everything. And I'm like, and I think that holds, like, it still holds up. It's still a moment to the sense of like that. The moment to me, one, it's so effective because you don't have a villain in a superhero movie that's being extremely theatrical to be like, well, I'm gonna do it. Instead, it's more effective in almost like more ruthless, and even like kind of scary for how immediate his decision is and how reliant of and that's true to the character of Two-Face. When Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face, of no, I go by the result of the coin. That's what it is. Tails, boom, shot. The music changes, and it's like, that to me is like, yeah, Harvey Dent's gone at this point. In which there is, I know there was a rumor central in the lead up to the Dark Knight and everything too, but him dying at the end of the movie, I think for this story was exactly the right thing to do.
Oh, it had to happen.
Because Harvey Dent as Two-Face was not going to become a mobster.
No.
Like, what would he have done in a follow-up?
No.
Nothing.
Exactly. And
like,
that's the whole point, is why did they kill off Two-Face? He could have been the villain in the next film. That is so stereotypical, lazy comic book movie expectation.
Yeah.
Whereas, and that'll set up the next film. This guy's not going to, this Two-Face is not going to become, like you say, he's not going to become a mob boss in Gotham.
Yeah.
Going around flipping his coin, attacking the second Bacon Gotham on the 2nd of February, whatever, that kind of stuff. So
his story just kind of it was finished at the end of the one, and he was crucial to, I think, as Nolan and Goyer, maybe the brothers Nolan and Goyer would even say of, this is almost like the tragedy of Harvey Dent, but it's played in that it's crucial to the character of Batman as well. There's so many effects of what Harvey Dent does, positive and negative, on the character of Batman and Bruce Wayne. So he's so crucial to this story, and that, closing the chapter on this, it does play so much, because look at what the freaking ending is. It's like, no, Harvey Dent didn't kill those people. Batman killed those people. We need to put Harvey Dent up as, and then they build on that for the next one. It's like, it's crucial for The Dark Knight Rises that Harvey Dent's character had this this ending.
It's like sometimes be careful of what you wish for, because Harvey dying. So Harvey, quote unquote, did allow for Bruce to stop being Batman, because it led to, the Dent Act, and we don't know this until we see The Dark Knight Rises.
Exactly.
That it helped, it sped up probably the mission. And like he says in Rises, Batman was no longer needed. So he got what he wanted, but really, did he really get what he wanted? And I don't want to get into Rises, but that's part of the irony too, is that, Harvey became Two-Face, and, Harvey died. Batman took blame, and it just, messed things up. Messed up the plan. But there's almost a sense of like, I'm at the end of The Dark Knight, is I feel, he's got to be thinking, I'm Batman forever. I'm Batman. I'm whatever Gotham needs me to be. At that point, the audience, he doesn't know what's going to happen.
And don't you think that well, there's so much, over 80 years worth of Batman, but that's interesting too for the people studying the character. One angle they bring to it is like his selfish reasoning of wants to be a Batman or a mission or something like that. And then it's like, in this movie though, shows how selfless he is though. No, I'll take this myth that's been created of Batman, and I will villainize it for the good of the city. I'll take the blame. I'll have Batman take the blame for this thing that I didn't do, for the sake of another human's, the perception of another human, and for the good of the city. Like, that's ballsy. And that, again, like I know we already said it, but it's like, it's just keeps it a standout amongst its peers.
I mean, to me, it's something that 100% Batman would do. It wasn't like, I wasn't Gordon in the movie. I wasn't like, no, I got it. I got it,
but I also was Gordon. So it's like, no, my hero. You're a good guy. You didn't do it.
I got why. Yeah. And it even made it more impactful that it's one of those, shit happens in a movie that sucks, but it's got to happen that way. And it's just, it was one of those moments.
It has to happen, but damn it.
Yeah.
But damn it. 2 words or not 2 words, 3 words, I guess, technically, that you just said. You said irony, and then you said the plan. I remember Aaron Eckhart doing some press, and in somewhere he'd said he just had like one scene with Heath. And it's the hospital scene, which is still fantastic. The dialogue in that is great. And also, I think another thing that makes the movie so brilliant is the perception of like the points, much like there's some points with Ra's al Ghul. It's like, I'm a little nervous because I do think that some of Joker's points they kind of hold up. It's what he does about them that it's completely like wrong. And what he brings up in that hospital scene, well, first up, Nurse Joker, excellent. My Halloween costume of 2008. That, like, the mannerisms, the way of acting, and everything in that from Joker. How many
awesome. People were Nurse Joker for Halloween that year?
I probably a ton.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, the Halloween party I went to, there were no Jokers. And then when I went to another place, there was a Joker, but in like the normal Joker getup. So I didn't run into another Nurse Joker.
Okay.
Now, I bet that there were a shit ton though. Yeah. I didn't, and it's not like my original.
No. I only bring
you were
that
Nurse
up.
Joker that year. Okay, I thought you were gonna say.
No. I only brought that up is because just the impact of the film. culturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've still got one sticker. So I bought two, the elect Harvey Dent stickers.
Yeah.
And I put one on the Nurse Joker outfit and the other one I still have because I was like, oh, I have to keep this one forever.
Yeah.
But in that scene itself, so yes, all of the mannerism stuff is just entertaining. But then it's like the point of it, though, of what, like, this is like Joker says, of like, this madness is like gravity. It just needs one push. And this is where Joker gives the best push. And in watching the performance of Ledger, I think you could go either way on saying that you think this is where the Joker is 100% sincere, or this, like, the Joker is 100% manipulative, knowing what to do to this guy, because he doesn't flinch at all when he hands that gun over to Harvey, in which Harvey could at that point, like, because just like 45 seconds prior, tried to snag Joker when he got a little loose, and then Joker gives that gun to him. But it's because of the speech and the point that he brings to it, sadly, does kind of make sense. As he is like, me, like, I was locked up. Gordon had me in jail. It's like, that's a fact. And he says, if I were to tell everybody, like, a gangbanger's to get shot, or that a busload of soldiers is going to get blown up, it's all part of the plan. But one little mayor is going to die and everybody loses their minds. And that's I know that's been used as memes so many times over the years, but it also is like, it's kind of terrifyingly true. And if you stop and think about it, and I think I don't know who came up with that scene and those examples and all of this, but it's just like, that is one of my, and it's two people talking, but it's one of my favorite scenes of the film, because I just think, like, I didn't have issues with this, but I thought, that's interesting that in The Dark Knight, comparing to Batman the Animated Series, Big Bad Harv was always there, and he was kind of coming closer and closer to the surface. There was no Big Bad Harv in The Dark Knight. It was just Harvey Dent, a good guy, tested himself to try and be a little like Batman when he took the officer and was flipping the coin and trying to intimidate him, and Batman stops him. Is a good way of showing, like, basically, subtext is, you can't do what I'm doing. You need to knock this off. But that's kind of it. But it's this Harvey just kind of getting low blow after low blow, and then the Joker there to finish him and push him over the edge. I just find that it's such a different interaction between two. Gosh, what year was Two-Face created? Was it 41, or am I wrong? 42?
Hey y'all, it's Bill Ramey, founder of Batman on Film. Let's take a quick pause in this podcast for these words from our sponsor. Right, 220, 221, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. Okay. Many years ago, but this is such a different standout interaction between two of Batman's villains.
When he was Harvey Kent originally.
Harvey Kent. Yes, Harvey Kent.
And they said, oh, we got Clark Kent. We need to change that. So we get Harvey Dent. Yeah.
Harvey Kent. There we go. But I'm probably going on way too long on just like this scene alone, but it's such a standout.
Well, he also sets up, talking about it's chaos and you can't control it. And it's, it is, things, they are what they are. And, and how, it's just the coin. And that kind of, that sets up, because we know with his coin, because we find out it was two heads, it had the same side. So,
you make
Harvey
your own
always,
brilliant.
And then now, with the scarred side, burned side, because of Rachel being, blown up by the Joker, then that, we see it becoming a chance thing. Either lucky or you're not, win or lose. It's just, everything was very black and white at that point. And, it's the Joker that sets it out, and then, Harvey realized that, you live, you die. Now we're talking.
Now we're talking. Oh my gosh. And I mean, it's even like heads, and then it's, cut to Joker's like, and you die. Now we're talking, like that thing.
Yeah.
And that is such almost like a gratification for Joker of like, I got it. I got him. I won right here.
He won. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you see that true to the character of Harvey Dent, that from then on he lives by the coin because of what Joker just established of chaos. An agent of chaos is fair. 50-50. That's what it is. So then from there on out, every time Harvey flips the coin, those are the rules.
It's fair. It's fair. You had a 50-50 shot. No pun intended about the shooting, but
yeah, from the first viewing too, I love that fact of like Maroni's the enemy here, but then how does Harvey still find a way to get him?
Yeah.
Your driver.
Yeah.
Like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. It was like he wasn't lucky. He wasn't, he didn't get the good side. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, a lot of time on Harvey Dent and Joker. I think almost equally as important are two characters of Alfred and Gordon. Michael Caine served the story in Dark Knight Rises, so he's just not in it that much. But as far as like, Alfred in this trilogy or whatever is, to me, is almost perfect. Not that I could think of another way that I want Alfred to do more, be better, or anything like that. I just think like he's there in support of Bruce through everything. After Rachel dies, and Alfred is the one that goes in and, talks to him and gives him like it's one of my favorite speeches too, is because it's like, the lesson of like talking about, previous career and, rubies the size of tangerines. And, and he said that he was just doing it for sport. Some men just want to watch the world burn. And then it's a great punctuation on that when, Bruce asked him, he's like, how did you catch that guy? And he said, we burnt the forest down. And that's such a, like, it's not beating you over the head, but it's almost like an aha moment, of like, this is another layer of this movie too, is pushing it of like, how far do you go for the greater good? And I love that element to the movie as well. You burn the forest down.
Yeah. And it's also that scene where he doesn't give Bruce the letter from Rachel.
Okay. Try to not, it's going to be hard. Do you think that's the right move on Alfred's part? Don't even think about Rises and anything like that. Do you think that's Alfred's, that's a good move? Because I know the end montage, the coloring of Alfred burning the letter, it seems as if Alfred took that letter, walked away, and burned it right then. He didn't wait till later that night or the next day. It just seems like, oh no, he walked right over it and burned it right away.
Yes. He saw Bruce. Bruce is crushed. Totally. Why pile on that? Now, it would have. Well, okay, not talking about Rises.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the rule. It's the rule here. Yes, I did think he was trying to protect Bruce.
I think I was more, as I've wised up these past 15 years. Some would argue with that. I think at the time, at that exact moment, I think that's the right move. Don't need to. The man's already crushed. Don't don't deal the last blow. But I think it's something to share with him so that the truth is out there. Later on, no matter how much it sucks. Because I'm more of like, give me an ugly truth rather than a beautiful lie.
Yeah.
But I don't like fault because it plays into the movie.
Yeah. Maybe I would love to ask Chris Nolan. I mean, what would he say to that? Okay. Did he on purpose? Did they on purpose write that? Alfred says it can wait, and then he goes burns the letter. That they wanted that to be that he made the wrong decision. Now I don't know how that affected Bruce the rest of the Dark Knight. But he did kind of give him a pep talk in a way, of basically, you're Batman. Come on, get up.
Yeah,
get up. You're not defeated. And maybe that was the reasoning behind that. Was that Gotham needs. They need you right now. They need you. They need you now. They need him. Damn, it's just a deep ass film, huh?
Isn't it? And we're not done. I believe in your review, you didn't say this was a Gordon film, but you did emphasize the importance of Lieutenant/Commissioner Jim Gordon, who dies and then goes to the Lazarus pit and returns.
Yeah, they had to cut that part out because it was they're trying to keep the runtime a little.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The runtime for sure. Somewhere out there, it's foreshadowing the Lazarus pit. But I mean, the movie isn't. We're not seeing it through the eyes of Jim Gordon, but it's Gordon. I don't know how you characterize him in this. It's not like he is the audience going through, but it's just like almost like that poor guy. He's dealing with so much throughout the whole thing. And then his decision too, similar to Alfred's, I guess, of like, you go along with the lie to your family that you're dead, only to go and ring the doorbell and be like, just kidding.
Yeah.
That's a son of a bitch, but also, okay, beyond initial reaction, is that the right move on his part though? Because like he said, I couldn't risk the safety of my family. You take Jim Gordon off the table, that means Gordon's family's off the table in the eyes of the mob or the Joker, because it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. They already lost the husband/dad, so we don't need to do anything else to them. They're done. They're off the table. Only for him to, I'm here actually. I mean, that sucks, but I kind of think that was the right move.
See, I didn't need the exposition. I didn't need to see a scene where, that we know Gordon is alive before we know he's alive at the chase scene. I got, I figured Gordon wasn't dead, watching the movie. But you never know, but it was like
general audience. I know I saw that movie with some people that were like, no way. So
I figured, just thinking, okay, you can't really, but in my mind, it was like, once I saw him, we got you, you son of a bitch, it was that he, was in the hospital or wherever they took him. He's like, okay, he will go after my family. Okay, well, here's what we're going to do here, police force. Just put it out there that I'm dead. Don't even tell my family because we'll just keep it out there. So, and then of course it made for great movie scene when, Gordon pops up at the end or after the Bat Pod 18-wheeler chase. And, like I said, hey, we got you, you son of a bitch, and you son of a bitch. It's all connected.
Son of a bitch. So there it is. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah. And, because when I saw it the first time it was, when you see Gordon in that scene, everybody goes, oh, yeah, it's Gordon.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get 30 seconds of happiness and then it all goes to shit again.
Yeah.
Because he shows up to tell the wife and then the smack in the face. And then it's just, and I kind of feel like that scene is there just because it's like, well, we need a reason to set up a dramatic, like, shit's going down in the interrogation room and like we need something in between there. So it is just a really quick, just kidding, wife, I'm still here. Smack, and then
also
the whole, like, telling his son that he saved Batman,
and then it's all also part of the fact that indirectly Jordan's decision at that point will end up, it will ruin his personal life. We don't find that, again, we don't know that till Rises, but everyone was affected by the Joker. Those three: Harvey, Gordon, Batman, all affected one way or the other.
Yeah, because that is, and I mean, it doesn't need an explanation, but the more that you think about it too, I mean, the son's right there at the end, and he even says, he's like, but he didn't do anything wrong. And then to go along with that and be like, all right, hey, Barbara, you can't tell anybody how Harvey really was and that he had a gun up against our son's head and was going to shoot him. You can't tell people that. Instead, you've got to go along with that he was a great guy and that he saved the city and all that.
And I'm going to go out and make a speech about, how great he was. Yeah.
Yeah. And we got to keep up that front. What did you just say? Is it a deep film? Yeah, exactly. Like, it's heavy. It's great. And I mean, on top of that, and I know we haven't said too much about Rachel Dawes, but I mean, obviously she's important. She's a link and adds another layer between like Bruce, her, and Harvey. But the documentary that came on the Dark Knight trilogy collection, and I mean, Jonathan Nolan, I mean, he talks about it too and how it is different. And that in the movie of, there's a choice between Harvey and Rachel. He's going to go save Rachel. That's how this all plays out. And the great music and intercutting that got to get there. Hurry up before the bomb goes off. Only for the Joker wins again because the last second you see that it was flopped. And then and so it's a little taken aback a little bit, like, because then you have Harvey's reaction. You don't necessarily, I guess, really focus on it until second or third viewing, that when Batman kicks that door open and Harvey's sitting there, that Joker theme just slowly starts rising. And it is Nolan's way, the filmmaker's way of like being like, without having to say like, hey, Joker won. It's like, that damn Joker struck again. So then you're unsettled and like, okay, but they're going to still get Rachel, right? Nope. Boom. Explosion. But it's not exploitative or anything. It serves the freaking story. It ups the ante of the movie going forward.
There's so much because Batman, he goes there. There's had to be a moment. He kicks that door in. He goes in there and it's Harvey. He's got to think, holy shit.
Which I do think when it cuts to Batman, there is like, he's not moving. I mean, it's very, very quick, but for how quick that buildup is moving and how quickly he moves afterwards. When it does cut to him, there is, and I think, and you can just be like, I'm imposing this myself then, but oh shit, the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like freeze, deadpan, which I know we only see eyes and then the mouth, but it just feels like deadpan, freeze.
And then he goes,
gotta go.
I mean, he still saves Harvey, you know, if you want to call it that. Where Harvey's, why are you here? Basically, you're supposed to save her. And it's just, I mean, at that point, it's like, and then Rachel's gone. So,
and mid-sentence.
Yeah.
It's not even overly like, entertainment, theatrical, anything. We're just like, okay, I'm ready to go now then. And then explosion's like, Harvey, no, somewhat like she's mid-word and explosion.
Yeah. Okay, we'll figure this out, and it's like she's gone, which affects Harvey and Batman. And Harvey, is scarred. And that's the end of Harvey, basically.
Literally, metaphorically.
Yeah.
Every Lee, he's scarred.
So it was, I mean, the Joker, I mean, he won all the way around on that one.
Because then on top of all that, Joker has conned his way into an explosion in the MCU. And is getting loud. Which I love that too. It's just a very brooding music of like as he's walking up to the shield still of wow, jiggling the keys and hello there. Like, oh my God, so good. But I'm like all of that too, and that's just like what you almost be like, what movie is this? Like, this is so far it's come of the most recent to that one successful superhero movie was 4 years prior, Spider-Man 2. And I just think like, and I love Spider-Man 2. And it's like, look how different of a flavor and how much deeper I think this movie is than that, which to me at that point was almost like a crown jewel of the genre. Is Spider-Man 2. And it's like the elevated storytelling for this, and it's different universe, different hero and stuff like that, different story to tell, but it is just like, man, look how smart, mature, and like heavy like this movie is. Dark Knight's never a movie that I just put on in the background. Like, it's I don't watch this as much as some of the other ones, just because it is like, no, I have to sit and watch and pay full attention. I am not going to disrespect this movie by playing it and doing something else. I'm going to sit my ass down and watch it beginning to end and pay attention.
You do, that's how you get your Batman card taken away from you, doing that.
I've heard,
that kind of bullshit.
And that scares me. I can't have mine taken away. I'm trying to think of like a little bit of like wrapping up. Do you have like a favorite moment of this movie? Every time you watch, or somebody just asked,
okay,
what pops in your head right away?
I tell you what pops in my head right away is that Gordon's speech at the end while Batman jumps on the Bat Pod and is heading back into Gotham, and I'm assuming he's going back to the little mobile Bat Cave or whatever you want to satellite Bat Cave, whatever you want to call it. Under or somewhere around Wayne Tower, but that speech, I mean, it will still watching that scene will still bring a little water to my eyes. You mean
it ramps up the allergies in your area?
And
you have a bad reaction to
exactly. It's just, I don't know how that happens, just from watching a video, but somehow it kicks in these allergies, and you go, okay, now. It's just, I told Gary Oldman, hey, see what I did there? I told
your old pal Gary Oldman.
At the press junket 2008 for this. I had just interviewed him. I came out, he was sitting down right outside the door, and I just said, fuck it, I'm saying something to him, and I said, hello, Mr. Oldman. I said, you were great in the film. I loved that monologue, that speech at the end, with A Dark Knight. And he said, thank you. He goes, do you want to know what my favorite scene in the movie is?
God damn right I do.
Yeah, that's what I said. Exactly. I said, I'm God damn it. Yes. What do you think? Come on, bring it. And it was, his favorite scene is when he goes and sees Harvey Dent at Harvey's office and they have that back and forth, and, Harvey tells him, I know about your little Batman friend and all that stuff and the Mark Bill. Anyway, he loved that. That's Gary Oldman's favorite scene of the film.
Nice. Unexpected. Mine, interrogation scene. Because it took me a while to know, which is the marks of a good movie. It took me a while to know what scene, if I had to say, is my favorite, because obviously that central action piece is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Interrogation scene is awesome. The ending speech is awesome. But it's just that interrogation scene is Batman Joker dynamic done so well without being so blunt and being like, hey, I'm the Joker, I love you, Batman, and Batman being like, blah, 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 or anything like that. It's just like, I don't know, it's displayed really well. Batman's my favorite character. That performance by Ledger might be my favorite performance I've ever seen in a movie.
Do you remember
all those in one scene together? Is just like, that's just perfect.
Do you remember the first time you saw it, or with the audience in the theater? What the audience's reaction to when Joker says, "You complete me"?
It was a stunned silence in the theater. Like the whole, basically,
were people so uncomfortable that they couldn't even bring themselves to laugh.
I'm not trying to over exaggerate.
Yeah.
Like the nurse Joker scene,
Yeah.
people laughed at when he did hi. Like people laughed at that. I can distinctly remember
that's
that.
funny. That was funny.
It was, yeah. But I mean, the you complete me. No, I just think at that point people were just still gripped.
Yeah, that's what I always got from it.
Immediately after that too. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't interpret what I just remember. A lot of silence in that movie of just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, people were just wowed.
That's what people were saying almost throughout that movie.
Shit.
Holy shit.
And I mean, I think it's Peter Travers. It's on the Blu-ray case. Even said, "Prepare to be wowed." And I was like, yeah. I mean, that's pretty evident. Do you have, I love doing favorites. Like a favorite line.
Then
or we just encompass the whole speech at the end.
I just, he's a silent.
I don't think you can just take
a watchful protector, a Dark Knight. I mean,
yeah,
that just that hits my Batman fandom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just after watching that whole film and what Batman does for Gotham, to hear in that speech, I would love to have been like, there be like a video of them, of the Nolans and David Goyer writing that scene and how they came up with that. It was just, and then it's just the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, obviously that line, fantastic. There's so many lines from this movie that people just know, and not just like diehard nerds, but people just know. Why so serious? He's the hero we need, but we don't deserve. I always get it flip-flopped.
Yeah.
The hero we need, but we don't deserve, or the hero we deserve, but we don't need right now. I think that's it. Hero we deserve, but we don't need right now. Part of that speech at the end and stuff. Mine isn't flashy. I like it. Just kind of it hits deep. Kind of on like a humanity level, but in that big speech at the end, and he says sometimes people deserve to have their faith rewarded. Like I love that. And then what's added on it as he says that is Lucius typing his name. And that, like, what's happening to Lucius is exactly what Batman just said. Batman put his faith, or Lucius put his faith in Batman. I'll do this for you one time. Consider this my resignation. Because he's like, and that relates back to the whole, do the ends justify the means? How far do you go to this? And that's what Batman's saying. Like, I've got to stop this man, Lucius. I've got to invade people's privacy. I've got to manipulate stuff. When it's done, just type in your name. Doesn't say, and then it'll go bye-bye or anything.
Yeah. And then at that point, we'll become Mr. Freeze and we'll go get some diamonds.
We'll get some diamonds here, at the jewelry store.
It was just like, when you're done, type in your name. And that's it, That's it. And then Lucius carries on, puts his faith in that. And then what's the reward at the end? Because he didn't know.
This thing's destroyed.
He didn't know what was going to happen, like you said, And the look, Morgan Freeman's face when he sees it all going kaput and being destroyed once he was done, because Bruce was not going to allow that technology to continue to exist. He's like,
but I've got to stop this man. And I love that too, because it's just such a humanistic thing of the unknown. And so for Batman, it's just like, I have to get this guy. I have to get Joker.
Can we save?
I'm going this far with it.
Yes.
And then
sorry.
No, it's okay. I think I'm just regurgitating the same thing.
I got you. I just wanted to say, I think we should say how great Christian Bale as Batman and Bruce Wayne is in this movie.
Let's go there. He is great as Batman and Bruce Wayne in this movie.
Yeah, he's great.
He is, and we've had one movie of Pattinson, and I thought Pattinson was excellent. The point of that movie was that he was mostly Batman. So I think it is like let's wait and see. Let's judge when he's done all of his material and analyze it. And then we can compare it to all of Keaton's material, all of Kilmer's and Clooney's and West's and Bale's. Material like this. I
will say, if I get a second favorite line, it's Bruce Wayne in the satellite Batcave, toward the beginning, after he took down the Scarecrow and the others and the League of Citizens for Batman group, and he's in there getting dressed, and he's stitched up, and Alfred stitched him up, and he's about Batman has no limits. But you do, Master Wayne. But I love that Batman has no limits.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And
I was going to say,
we see that Batman has no limits, because he went to the point of, I'm going to become a damn villain in the eyes of this entire city for the good of it.
Yep,
it has no limits.
Someone of which I think we had snippets then of it, but an actor at Bale's caliber, like this material, this kind of good material is how you can draw in talent like that. Because you'd say like Oldman's an artist too. I think in these movies, especially in this movie itself, I probably awarded some of those actors the privilege of getting to choose their projects rather than having to they get to choose to instead. And I just think with so much, and I think there's such a good balance here of Batman and Bruce Wayne material. Like there's just as much acting Bale in the suit as out of the suit. And not just I'm gonna yell and then it's action. It's like no actual like emotion. And I don't know, there's a lot of meat on the bone as both, and I think that's why Bale excels for me and why he still is my favorite character. or favorite actor to play Bruce Wayne and Batman?
He's my favorite Batman still.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne. For it's funny, and we keep going on and on, and I think of things, and so I'm sorry, but it's not really about the Dark Knight, but you had said something about getting those caliber of actors like Bale, and it's I think Batman is at a point on film where not just anyone is going to take the role. It's like Pattinson wanted to play Batman, but he had to see what Matt Reeves had planned, and then he was all in. Mm-hmm. It's not like Val Kilmer when Warner Brothers called and said, "Hey, you want to play Batman?" Oh yeah, he's like he said. I was literally like he was in a cave in Africa or something crazy like that. And you just did it because it was Batman. It's got to be something of substance now, and that's I think Bale has a lot to do with that, because it's a hell of a hard act to follow, man.
Yeah. I think I told when we had Tim Sheridan on after the Long Halloween Part 1, and I'd said, I just kind of think Batman is, high tier.
Mm-hmm.
I think Batman as a character now, like he demands high tier content.
Yes.
Writing, producing, and directing and stuff. He's just up on that level now. Kind of like, Bond movies have like a, what's the word I want, like a very kind of upper echelon. It needs to be of substance.
You think
it just does. And I think Batman needs to be of substance. Like
with Bond, is that something that the Daniel Craig series of films really elevated to that level? I'm not to dismiss Timothy Dalton or especially Sean Connery or Roger Moore or any of those guys.
I'm not I haven't seen a ton of the pre-Brosnan. I have not seen a ton of Bond movies.
Mm-hmm.
But in my view, I think I love the Daniel Craig movies.
Yeah.
Two of them lesser than the other three, but I think that they are upper level.
That was
trying to comes with prestige.
That series was influenced, especially Casino Royale was influenced by Batman Begins quite a bit, and it kind of, because you went out of the norm of the aesthetic for James Bond in that movie. A lot of before that it was kind of like it was about the aesthetic of Bond more than anything, and Craig brought it up to. I mean, he's a hell of an actor. So, not to go on some Bond tangent. We need bring Hobby in for that if we go that route. But
but there's definitely some connectedness of, and I mean, you've said it before many times and stuff too. Of like, Batman is Warner Brothers James Bond and can be. So if you have such a valuable piece that you have built up so high, then that just demands quality. It just does. And I'm not saying that anybody that may be lesser quality Batman material before has just that people haven't tried to make it high quality. I just think it is take care of this.
I
this
think
character that you've built up so well.
That's the legacy in Batman history. It's probably maybe one of the legacies of the Dark Knight and Christian Bale as Batman. Is it that really brought it up a few more notches than it was before? And that it all goes back to this was a great movie with no qualification of it was a great movie, a great comic book movie. This is a great movie, period.
In that documentary that I said that was about the Dark Knight trilogy, that's actually even one of the opening things is Michael Uslan even saying that. Say that was a great this movie, this was a great film, period. And I think that to me is almost like the legacy of the Dark Knight. Batman Begins to be damned. I understand people love that, their favorite, all that and everything. I'm but I do think, just as the Joker said, and we already referenced once, change things forever, I do think The Dark Knight did that. It just did.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that's as good of a point as any to wrap it up. Do you have any other things to say about The Dark Knight that we haven't said in the past hour? I got many things, I'm sure, but
I have many things. I mean, I was just talking about Bell and Bell's Batman. I mean, I could do a whole show on Bell's Batman, talking about in The Dark Knight and Batman Begins and Rises. Let me write that down. That's a show we could do.
Whole show.
Yeah. All I can say is probably said it on this show. I said it during our BOF Chronicles podcast. I feel fortunate to have been, where I was in life, when this came out, and to be around for this era of that case of Batmania when it came to a Batman movie. And, I was lucky for that. I was a young man. I was 22, 23 when 89 came out. So I got to experience that. And just what's crazy is that, with Batman 89 and experiencing it, I'm just a fan, which I still am, but
you're more involved.
I was involved in this, on many levels. It was from running, Batman on film and being in, going to the set. And I've seen, seeing some of that's some cool. I mean, some of the stuff they shot that day was, it was the bank vault scene with Gordon and Batman, and just that whole experience was just, I'm fortunate, and it's like I said, it's the most fun I've ever had with a Batman film, covering a Batman film. And Rises was fun, Begins was fun, but this was special. And the Batman was fun for a whole different thing, because it was, and I'd get in on that, but it was, we'll talk about that when we talk about the Batman. But it was, go listen to that, the BOF Chronicles, when it talks about the Batman, because I'll talk about it there. But yeah,
there you go.
I look back in these 25 years of doing Batman on film, that was the pinnacle. And the movie is the pinnacle of Batman cinema still. Even as much as I love all the other films, it's still the pinnacle of Batman on film.
I'm trying to be like, really be fair in thinking, as like just in specifics of its genre. If there's like a more impactful movie in the genre, I do think that there are many people that would have arguments, and I would never say that anybody else is wrong, because I'm just one guy. In my mind, I just kind of feel like I don't know of one. I wasn't around for 89 when that happened, so I don't know. But as far as you could see after The Dark Knight, you could see its influence on other films, on other content.
It took the genre to a different level. It made expectations for comic book movies way higher expectations. It may be, I mean, God, it's hard to say. Is it the most important? It's the most important comic book movie probably of this era.
Yeah.
I guess if we exclude Batman 89 and Superman, the movie, really is very important. I mean, you combine everything it did, and the cultural impact, and everything
cultural
involved.
Impact. I think that's a good phrase.
Yeah, and just the elevation of the filmmaking.
Yep.
And what's expected of comic book movies.
And I can never get old revisiting material at the time, pumping up the movie, revisiting the BOF stuff that you posted of your interviews with your set report, and all like at the premiere and the interviews, and then this book. It was like this great, this Nolan Variations one, because I think it came out just a couple years ago, maybe. And they're fresh comments, like the one I read, fresh from Nolan himself. I can't get tired of that, though he probably wants to talk about, Oppenheimer. And right now he doesn't want to talk about The Dark Knight, but like for me, it's like, oh, this is a new thing that like it's interesting, and I can totally see the reasons for him saying that. I don't disagree with what he said about anything about that with The Dark Knight, and he wasn't saying anything negative about it. He's just said, this is my viewpoint of like what I think we set out to do, and I'm like, yeah, you definitely accomplished it. Now you went, probably you accomplished it a lot better, and it had more of an impact than you could have ever imagined. But
there was no way that they making that film that they anticipated what it would end up being.
I
mean, even when I was there on the set in 2007, you didn't get, it was just the storm was brewing, but you didn't realize it yet. The storm was coming. You know what I mean?
I think the match that was lit, that then lit the fuse that led to the explosion, was Ledger beginning as Joker. Because I know I read it in some of these magazines I was reading recently, and I distinctly remember you saying it, of Oldman telling you of this kid and pointed at the picture.
He did at the set, Ledger. Pointed that picture, and he said, this kid is doing something special, something brilliant.
And I think that carries weight, because Oldman, so that's 2007 when you sat and talked with him on set. He's an established actor, tons of credits at that point. And so you have an established actor, a very good actor, that's pulling this out on his own and saying, and drawing attention, like, okay, this kid, and it just feels like that's genuine, and this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So, and then as we all know, the history books wrote of Ledger's performance. Live on forever. Change things forever. So, all right, sir, I'll stop rambling here. Do you have any anything specific to plug or shout outs, anything at all?
Let's see.
Maybe a website?
Batman-own-film.com. I will mention I'm now on Threads, just because I'm a sheep. I'm just sheep following the herd.
That's right.
There's kind of really a part of me that would like say this become a thing and Twitter go away, but that's a whole different conversation. But you can find me on Threads at the Batman on Film. And of course, you can buy us a beer, help keep Batman on Film going, buymeabeer.com/the real Batman on Film. So that's it. Everything else is on Batman. Oh, that's on Batman on Film too. But yeah, go to Batman on Film. Yeah.
As for me, I wanted to give some distance. There hasn't been a new episode of my podcast, The Batman Book Club, in a few weeks, but that's all going to change because fellow BOF Ryan Haas is going to be on my next episode, where we're actually talking the novelization of The Dark Knight.
Okay.
Written by Denny O'Neil, the late great Denny O'Neil. Talking about some of its differences and alterations of what was in that book compared to the movie, and vice versa and stuff. So that'll be dropping on the 18th.
I thought you were going to say like in honor of the 15th anniversary of The Dark Knight and the release of Oppenheimer, Chris Nolan's coming on to the Batman Book Club and talk about his favorite Batman comic.
Yeah, I think that's in November for my birthday.
Oh, okay.
He was like, Ryan, I want to give you a birthday present. What would you like? And I come on my podcast, please. And he said, you've got 12 minutes. So I'm going to milk it. We'll see.
Did I ever tell you the story about the time I had a one-on-one interview with Chris Nolan for The Dark Knight? But I couldn't tell anybody that was.
Couldn't say one-on-one at the time.
Yeah, I couldn't say one-on-one because they were afraid of butt hurt.
Yeah. You know what? I can't remember. That might be in the BOF Chronicles Part 3. Huh.
It is. Yes.
Plug
that. Let's plug the BOF Chronicles, the history of Batman on Film, Check it out. Good stuff. And I went to Vegas
Yeah.
and it was hot.
I would not doubt it.
You know, me saying
July
it was
heat
hot
in Vegas.
is saying something.
My goodness. Yeah.
Okay, because you know, because y'all say, "Oh, it got hot. It was up to like 89," and I'll go, "Ha ha 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 ha."
Yeah.
You know, we laugh
No
at
chums.
89. No, Vegas was going, "Ha ha ha." We'll laugh at your 101 there in Texas. We'll
Oh,
up the
you
ante and go,
Texan.
we'll just go 116. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I see your 100 and I raise you 116.
Yeah. Let's just hit
You're like,
that
all right.
116. Yeah.
You got me. You got me good.
So that's it. Yeah.
All right, there you go. So listen to everything The Dark Knight and then go to batmanonfilm.com. There's some goodies there.
Yeah.
So-
And watch The Dark Knight.
Watch The
it
Dark Knight again. If you've seen it 112 times, go for 113.
Yeah.
Why not?
Just get up there 220, 221, whatever,
221.
whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
All right, so for Bill, Jett, Ramey, I'm Ryan Lauer, and announcer Rachel will now take us out.
Thanks for listening to the BOF Social Hour, Jett's official vlog and podcast on Batman on Film. Follow Jett on Twitter @Batman on Film. Follow the BOF newsfeed on Twitter @The Batman on Film. For Jett and everyone at BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original, Batman on Film, established in 1998.